Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripana Study Center. Today we are going to do the chapter of social science and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Today we discuss on most important chapter here, national integrations and secularism. There is a most important chapter here. But first point arrive here, national integration. National integration is the most important here, but national integration is the meaning and importance is also important here. Before we begin to the discussions on the national integrations, it will be a better to understand its meaning. The meaning is the most important. This term has been two words, nation and integrations. And what do you mean by there is a term nations? This is an important question. What do you mean by the term nation? A nation is a country with a unified social, economical, and political structure. A nation is a country with a unfilled social, economic, and political structure. It is a united a body of people who have a feeling and oneness are built on the basis of the common history, society, culture, and value. This is important. History, society, and culture and value. This feeling of the oneness is a blend. There is a people together to a nation. In a journal term, it is this a feeling which is known as a national integration. This is the most important definition here. The general term, it is this is a feeling is known as a national integration. National integration is their awareness of common identity among the citizens of a country. It means that all the individuals belong to be different communities, castes, religions, cultures, and religions, and they speak different languages. All of them recognize their fact that they are one. This kind of integration is very important in the buildings of a strong and prosperous nation. This is important here. National integration had a meaning and importance. As we all know, India is a nation having great diversities. The people who inhabit this nation belong to different races, communities, and castes. This is important race here. These communities and castes is here. And they realize in the different geographical regions and speak different languages. They believe in on the practice different religions and have a variety lifestyle. But with all this diversity, there is all Indian and there also feel like that. They also have many religious identities such as a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, and Zoroastrian. This is the most important religious identified in India. They may also be identified the Punjabis, Tamils, Malayalis, Bengalis, and the Manipuris, and so on it, and South and Northeast India. But there is a national identity is a supreme. National integration is stimuli for any nation with a social, cultural, religious, linguistics, and geographically diversities here. And for a country like ours, it is still more necessary as we know that India is a very large country. We have the second largest population in the world. A unique feature of our country in that all the major religions of the world are practiced here, such as Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, and Zoroastrianism. This is the most important caste in here. Can you identify religions from the symbols? Shown there is interest in the below here. There is a more than 1,000 languages that people Indian speak. This is important. There are also great variety in customs, the food habits, social custom, and geographical. Our land is diverse, and there is an amazing difference in the climate. Yep, there's all this difference. India is one political entity, and we have to coexist with each their special respect their culture and religions of our fellow Indians. And this is a possible only when the national integration is realized in a true sense of the term. National integration is necessary also for the security and development of the nation. This is important here. On your screen there is the most important symbols of religions. There's a different caste, different symbol on your screen. This is the most important symbols here. The next here, national movement and national integration. This is the most important here. The national movement and national integrations. You may recollect occasion when you read or you hear us told that Indian is exciting even to the ancient time. Yes, India which we see today has been there is a sun ancient times, but then it has been to only a geographical entities because it is divided into a large number of prince state on this time, and there is a culture similarity in those states, but it was not a united and integrated nation like it's today. It's an important point here. This time princes state here, and there is a culture similarity those state, but is not one that united the integrated nation like it is today. It was for the first time during the British rule that India became administrative united. The British ruler annexed it to the several prince state and established a indirect rule on the others. India became one of geographical entities, but the feeling and sentiment of nationhood was not present among the people. The major struggle of the British rulers was based on the divided and the rule. This is the most important role the British use here, divided and the rule. They promoted the communalism division especially among the Hindu and the Muslim. The, the British rules there is divided for the Hindu and the Muslim, and their neglect of the economical development of people create many divide in the country. This is the most important here. It was during the national freedoms movement that the feelings and the sentiment of the nationalhood emerged and the need for the national integration was realized. During that moment, people belonging to be different religions, culture and communities, and caste and creeds, joined hands to be drives out of British power from the soil of India. Especially under the banner of Indian National Congress, established in the 1885, people from all the sections come to be together and complete to be the British rulers to be quiet India. Since the British rulers had adopted their policy of divided and rule, the freedom movement was a focus on the forging unity and the people of the country. The leadership of the movement led to the emphasis on equality, liberties, secularism, and social economical development. When India became independent, all this formed their main objective of the new nation. And the next point is also important, national integration and the Indian constitution. What when India got independence on 5th August 1947. This is the most important period of time here, India independent. 5th August 1947. The country was faced with a many problem on this time. The country faced many problems on this time. The national integration faced great challenges. You must be aware that a partition of the country creates two nations, India and Pakistan. There is a both are there is a India and Pakistan the partitions on this time. The partition causing to wars kind of communal violence. There is not easily there is a communal violence on this time. A large number of people who were the living in the area for a generation had to move to be other areas as refugees. There is a first time the migrate is a large amount of people on this time. You maybe have a watched such scenes in the some films and documentaries and serials on the television. You know that there is a famous movie Gadar. This is a represent of in this time. Besides, the Indian political leaders were faced with a complex issue related to their integration of Prince State. On this time, most important problem is create a Prince State, and there were other factors also that had to the potential to generate problems for the unity of the countries. This is important here. On the eve of independence, India was divided into two sets of territories. The first was territory known as the British India, on which the British rulers had a direct control, and the second began of 562 independent prince states, having indirect control of British government. When the independence was declared, prince states were given to the option to be joined either to be two nations, India or Pakistan. There is an option here, two states. There is here two nations, India and Pakistan. A few prince states joined to the Pakistan, but the rest emerged with the India. However, there were expansions like Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir, and Jangal, and who wished to remain independent. There is a problem with the states of Manipur and Tripura also. This is the most important point here. In the above state, a background that the Constitution of India is lay great emphasis on the national integrations here. It is a preamble include a unity and integrated of the nation as a major objective. It also stipulates that every citizen has the fundamental duty to the uphold and protect their sovereignty. Unit and integrated of India, the Constitution reflects respect of diversity of country, but it is a tries to be ensured that the unity and integrate is maintained. This is why it is made to the provision for the centralized of federations and order for the strong central government. You may have noticed this will be studying there is a lesson of central government and state governments here. The next point is also important, challenges to the national integrations here. This is important. As we noticed in the above paragraph, just after independence, India faced a number of challenges to be national integration. Though there are various efforts have been made to be solved those problems. The challenges are continually. The challenges are here continually. The most important challenges are as the following. First of all, look here, challenges of national integration is here. Colonialism. The colonialism is the most important phase to Indian people here. Colonialism has been one of the most complex problems that India has been to facing. It's colonialism. There is a most complex facing for the Indian people. And this generate when their individual belong to be one religions develop exclusive affinities to their religions and hatred to about other religions. This kind of feeling promotes our religion's fundamentalism and fatalism and is proved to be dangerous for the unity and integration of the country. It is more so for a country like India where people practice all the major religions of the world. But India has been to suffering from the colonialisms since the independence. As we face worst kind of communal riots on the eve of independence and even after. There has been too many colonial riots in the various part of the country. And if any immense is a suffering on the peoples also here. The next problem faced by the India here, religionism. Religionism is the most important problem faced on this time. Religionism is another obstacle in their way of national integrations. On many occasions it encourages people to promote religious interest even at the cost of national priorities. One may be think that arise the problem of the particular religious is needed to be attract the attention of the discussion makers and to be compel them to fulfill justified religious demands. And this thing is reasonable because such demand may be based on genius gradients of the religion state that has been to the denied fair share of the project and industry in the overall stature of development. Those may be also be related to be a continued neglect of the particular religion. In its path, there is over 6 decades of planned development. All regions in our country has not been developed in the desired manner. Along with the other factor, the lack of the expected social economical development result in a demand for the creation of new states. Do you know how many times in the India's very state has been recognized because of the agitations based on religious aspirations? But when the regionalism ignores a national interest or encourages people to have a negative feelings toward the interest of other religions is become harmful. On many occasions, regional protests and demonstrations are based on the political considerations here. Aggressive regionalism is still more dangerous as it leads to be separatism. We has been the experience such as a feeling in the content part of the state of Assam and Jammu and Kashmir. This is important here. On your screen, there is a most important moment here, the rising moment. The rising moment on the screen, there is a most important moment here. The next problem here, lingualism. Lingualism is the most important problem on face the India. All of us know that India is a multilingual country. People of India speak nearly 2,000 languages and dialects. The priorities has been to neglectives use only many occasion, particularly in the earlier decade decided after independence. Every country need to be have a common official language, but it has not been an easy task of India. When a recommendation was made in the Constituent Assembly to be recognized Hindi as their official language of India, it was opposed by representatives of almost all the non-Hindi speaking area. A compromise had to be made there. Will the Constitution Assembly declare Hindi as the official language? It was provided that English would be continued to be used for the official purpose of United Government of period of 15 years. There is a most important regulations here. When the Official Language Commission set up in the 1955, I recommended in the favor of replacing English by Hindi as the official language, and there were wild separate protests in all the non-Hindi speaking religions. Whereas and such a protest and demonstrations were seen once again in 1963 when the official language bill was introduced in a Lok Sabha. As compromise, the Act of 1963 allowed the continued use of English for the official purpose without any time limit. Although there is a demand of language based on the state was meet a comprehensive when the state were recognized on linguistic basis in the 1956. Fresh movements are going on in some part of country, and such a movements generate many challenges for the national integration here. But next year, extremism. Extremism, there's a most important point. Extremisms, our next point here, the extremist is a movement going on a different part of country or yet another challenge to the national integration. You must has be heard about their Naxality movement or Naxit movement, and this movement quite often use the violence or create a fear of public's life, causing loss of lives of government personnel and people and destroyed public property also. So mostly their youth or participate in such a moments. The basis reason for the taking up around by the youth in there is continuing state of social economical depressions. Moreover, the day-to-day humiliations and denigration of justice, human right violation. Various kind of expansion of the political marginalization and promote them to join their nationality movement. But the extremist of activities has been to the threat to be law and order and peaceful living of people residing in their affected area. On next year, two picture on your screen. There are anxieties in the jungle. There is the woman, man. There is also participant. There is an anxieties in the jungles on your screen. There's a most important picture clear on your mind in this picture here. The next year, factors promoting national integration. This is the most important topic arrive here. All the above state challenges do exist. There are contain important factor that provide us sound base of national integration. These are the important. First of all here, constitutional provision. As we have seen, the Indian Constitution has made provision for the promoting and ensuring national integration. It has accepted a socialism, secularism, democracy, liberty, equality, justice, and fraternity as the goal of Indian political system. Citizens have been to the empowered with the fundamental right and their fundamental duties has also been prescribed. The directive principle of state policy direct the state to be promote equitable economic development, eliminate a social discrimination, and the promotion of the international peace and security. And above all, the provision related to the various institutions and processes has been to generate to about to national integration here. The next point here, governmental initiatives. The governmental has also been to making for to be promote national integrations here. A national integration counseling has been set up to be considered issue related to the national integration and accommodate suitable measures to be taken. A single planning commission prepare a plan. Single planning commission prepare a plan for economic development of the entire country, and one election commission conduct election. This is the most important here. Single plannings commission prepare a plan for economic development, and other here election commission conduct of election. The next point here, national festivals and symbols here. National festivals also act as important define their force. Independence Day, Republic Day, and Gandhi Jayantis are festivals that are celebrated by all Indians and in all parts of the country. It's important. There is a national festival here, Independence Day, Republic Day, and Gandhi Jayanti are festivals that are celebrated by all Indian in all parts of the country, regardless of language, religions, and culture. We also observe that a national integration day on the 9th November every year and the take place it this day is known as the Qawmi Ekta Divas. Qawmi Ekta Divas. Moreover, our national symbol like the national flag, the national anthem, and the national emblems also help to remind us that we all have one identity. For this reason, we stress on the importance of the showing proper respect to be these symbols. And this act as a strong influence force both in the time of celebration and diversities here. And they remind a use of our common nationality. This is important here. The next point is also important here, all Indian service and other factor. Moreover, the all Indian service means IAS, IFS, IPS, and other. Unfulfilled judicial system, postal and communication network, including radio and television and the internet, promote the unity and integrated of Indian nation. You may be aware that there are member of all Indian service are recruited are the central, but they work in the state. Many of them, after having long experience at the state level, come to work in the central government and be a part of policy decision making for the entire country. And postal and communication network definitely bind of the nation. You also maybe have listening to the radio broadcasting national event and watches those event of television, and it is not true that the people all part of the country do so. Our next topic is the most important here. Secularism. Secularism, there's the most important terms here. Secularism. Secularism has been one of the most disturbing of problem. It has continued to their threat to be national integration. It is true that traditional that Indian society has been a known communal since a century. It has been to the absorbing and assimilating some many religions and cultures. But it was during their British rule that colonialism was used as tools of divided Indians. This is the most important tools here, colonialism, to divide the Indians. The colonialism rules create a situation to convince Indians that primarily they were members of different religions and communities, and they must think and act differently. The constitution makers had to send their negative potential of colonialism, and that is why the constitution declared India to be a scholar state. India to be a scholar state. But today, no understanding to the big person. There is a India is the scholar state. But today, no understanding here political leaders here. So their original constitution had many provisions to be promote secularism. There continued repairings of colonialism demanding and extension. This is important. Consequently, it is also made one of the basic pillars of Indian democracy, and the word secular was intended to be a permeable of the constitution by the 42nd Amendment in the 1976. This is important. The next point here, meaning of secularism. This is important, meaning of secularism. What does secularism mean here? This is the most important question. What does the means of secularism here? You may be come across with there are some people who will be say, I am secular because I do not believe in any religions. That's important. That I am secular because I do not believe in any religion. You may be also find some politician who said that what is reflected in the constitution is not true, but pseudo-secularism and pseudo-secularism mean false secularism. There is a pseudo-secularism means false secularism. However, it is a necessity to understand that secularism does not mean availing of religions or anti-religions. The term of pseudo-secularism is used only for political purpose. In fact, secularism impels equality of all religions and religious to tolerance. It may be appreciated in the two contexts, state context and individual context. In the state context, it means that India does not have any official state religions. This is the most important word here. India does not have any official state religions. The government must not favor or discriminate against any religions. It's important. It must treat all religions with the equal respect. It's important. The religions are there must be treat all the religions to equal respect. All citizens, irrespective of their religious belief, are equal to the eyes of law. No religious instruction in the imparted in a government or government-aided schools, but general information about all the established world religions may be imparted without giving any importance to any one religions or the others. In the individual context, it means Sarva Dharma. Sambhava. Sarvadharma Sambhava means equality respect for the all religions. Every person has to be right to the preach and practice and propagate any religions they choose. Every citizen must treat all religions same respect of the all religions. This is the most important. You know that show on your screen there is a most important picture here. There are different religions, different things, different praise system. But these are the Indians. This is the most important for here. India has a secularism and freedom to all religions is accepted here. The next year, secularism in the constitution. You know that there is the most important here. The secularism in the constitution. As we have seen above, the various provision of constitution ensure the India to be a secure state. The Indian constitution, though it is a permeable and particularly though there is a chapter on fundamental right and directive principle, has a create a scholar state based on the principle of equality and non-discrimination. This is important. There is a secularism in the constitution. Our constitution is provides here in a chapter fundamental right and directive principle has a create a scholar state and based on principle of equality and non-discrimination. Along with their principle of social and economical democracy, and secularism has been to held to be one of the basic structure of Indian constitution. It has been reflected in their constitution primarily as value in the sense that extend support to our plural society. And secularism aims to be promoting coherence among the different communities living in India. This is the most important, giving us our constitution or secularism state in India. The next point here, secularism. It is a significance. This is an important point here. If there are constitutional provision and safety guard, it is unfortunate that all the Indians are yet to be truly scholar. We have to experience communal audit at the regular interval. Even a very insignificant reason lead to be a communal tension and the violence. But secularism is extremely not a simply for maintaining communal harmonies and the peace, but for the very extent of our nation. If you look around yourself, you may find that your friend, classmate, and others are nearby dissidents believe in a practice religions that are different from your religions. They belong to the various castes. And how can you interact with them and be a good friend, classmate, neighbor, if you do not respect religions and they do not do the same? We all know that India has a plural society and it is therefore initials is that all the people develop respect toward the one and another and practice peacefully coexistence. This is the most important point here. Secularism and the significance here. This topic was till this. We will be do their next topic in the next part. If you like it, then please like, share, subscribe, and share the video as a much as a possible. Do not think subscribe and save in your mobile. Thank you.